What's up, man?
Joey, what's up?
Good, I'm good.
How are you, sir?
Oh yeah, everything's good on my way. Yeah, everything's good. Same old, we're still stuck in the house. Now, you guys open back up, right?
Yeah, actually, yesterday. Was it yesterday? The day before? Yeah. So actually, I posted the chat on my like personal Facebook page, and it hardly got any love compared to what I usually post. So I saw a couple of people that night, and I was like, "How come you weren't on liking my link and watching it?" And they're like, everyone was back to business. Everyone was either back at work. Businesses were able to resume. It was just probably the worst day I could have ever posted it up. So
Yeah.
because even myself, like it's been a crazy couple of days for me too. So, but it's exciting. But we still don't know what sport is. So, first they said we're allowed to have 9 people at a training.
Okay.
And I've just got an email today saying we're just going to hang tight for another week, which is a lot of confusion. At first they said 100 people we could have gatherings of up to 100 when we got to level 2. And then they changed that to we're only allowed to have 10 people at any gathering. So, Chris, what's up?
What's going on?
Hey, man.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Very good, sir. I was just explaining to Joey, in our country, we've just sort of come out of lockdown. So I was just explaining to him, we're still not quite at the level where we can resume sports and get back to practice and things like that, but it's pretty close.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we're moving in the right direction. So, kind of see what happens. As you can tell, I need lockdown to end.
How long have you been? So, which state are you based in, Chris?
So right now, West Virginia. We're pretty much open. They're open slowly. Most small businesses are open. Restaurants with like patios are open. So each week they're, opening up something different.
Right.
So,
just kind of slowly.
Probably about the next 3 weeks we'll probably be fully open.
Yeah, it's I think I was saying to Joey last time too, it's so much more complex in the US, whereas here in New Zealand we're basically 2 islands, approximately 5 million people. So we've kind of been on the same page. So when one change happens, it's for the whole country. So it's a bit more simplistic. Whereas in the US, I was saying to Joey, I feel for all my friends in the States because it's almost like every state's a separate country in some ways. It's so different.
Yeah. They can kind of govern their own way. The governors can kind of control what their state does. Doesn't really have to listen to whatever the president says or whatever.
Exactly. So firstly, just thank you so much for coming through. I really appreciate it. It's pretty exciting for, especially myself. You're somebody I got to geek out all the way through. So I was all about college basketball when you came into Duke. The first thing I thought of was a basketball singlet that I wore to death. Like I wore it for years and years and years. Was the Duke singlet, number 21. Which is probably the toughest uniform, I think, in college basketball. The black body with that Duke and that font. It's just such a tough singlet. So I never knew if it was yourself or Trajan Langdon. I was never quite sure what it was.
You know what? I think they brought it back first. I think his senior year, they brought it back. Coach only probably let us wear the black jerseys like maybe 3 times throughout the year.
Okay.
Throughout the season, and then in the ACC tournament, one of the games, if we wasn't the home team, which most of the time we were the home team. So,
right.
But other than that, he always kind of stuck to the blue jerseys.
So was it a special type game that would come out, or Was there anything behind the choice when you get to wear the black version?
No, not really. Sometimes it would probably be when we play like in the coaches versus cancer. I think one year we played Kentucky in New Jersey. Just like right before Christmas, and we wore the black jersey. So usually for kind of games like that, kind of games on the neutral site, and against a really really good established college team.
Right. Cool. I think it's some of the best branding in college basketball. I think that Duke. So I'll tell you the story really quick. I think you at that state. I think you were kind of like sophomore season with Duke, and a good friend of mine went to the States, and he just went he maxed out his credit card and brought all this merchandise back. So when he got back to New Zealand, he got in trouble with his family for spending so much money that he had to have a sale of all the stuff that he'd purchased to get some money back, because he spent thousands and thousands on merchandise. So I rocked up to the sale in my friend's apartment, and first thing I saw was that Duke singlet. So that's how I got it. I got to buy it from my friend who had to sell it. So he was like, single tear, came rolling down his face, and it was a good day for me, because otherwise at the time it was pretty hard to buy that stuff here. So so fond memories of the Duke singlet and how I got it.
Nice.
So have you had a chance to meet Joey before, Chris?
Yeah.
Cool.
He actually stayed at the house. I don't know, a few months back.
I've been there twice.
Yeah.
He's usually not there. He's always working, doing his thing. But
excellent. Just don't want to skip an introduction. I wasn't sure if you two had met yet, but man, so here it's 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and at the house we had a really enjoyable morning. It was just a Chris Duhon research. Make sure I don't forget anything. So my son, he's 9 years old. He's a little basketballer. And man, we had so much fun going over everything from, your college days to McDonald's All-American, that New York Knicks, that 22 assist game that you had. We just geeked out, and it was all Chris Duhon all day here today. So just to catch up in case I'd missed anything, but that was one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, was because that particular season I was a huge Knicks fan. Because in New Zealand, everybody claims an NBA team, but it's kind of silly because we're in New Zealand on this island. So it's kind of silly when someone's like a diehard Lakers fan, because we just get to pick whoever we want to support. And at the time, I was all about that New York Knicks team, and I just loved that roster with, so many of those players that had come straight from high school, and some of those dudes. So I watched a lot of games that season, so I really enjoyed watching that game this morning with my son. And I think David Lee had like 37 points. So my question to you was, that's a New York Knicks record. Nobody's had more than 22 assists in a game is an all-time record for the Knicks. But I was just wondering, what stands out to you in that game? What do you remember?
It was a very high-scoring game. Golden State, Don Nelson was the coach then, so they kind of played the similar style that we played, which was up and down, no defense. Whoever scores the most wins. And it was just kind of one of those games. It was around Thanksgiving, so that was a little extra special for me, because my family had came up to New York to spend Thanksgiving holiday with me. So it was cool to be able to do that in front of the family as well. So man, it was just, again, a high scoring game, and we're pretty much getting whatever we want on pick and rolls as far as layups and dunks. David Lee and I had built a great connection together. So we were getting everything we want. I think Al Harrington had a high 20-point game as well. He played really well. We shot the ball well. Everything we threw up was kind of going in, and it was just kind of, it was fun to be a part of, and it was real fun.
So, Chris, in a game like that, let's say if your shot's going, you start hunting for your shot. You start trying to look for opportunities to get the shot. When you start kind of feeling the game, and kind of finding your teammates, is it kind of the same thing? Like, where you really start trying to find those assists and your mindset shifts, or was it just presented itself that many times in that game?
Yeah, it's for me, it's kind of similar. For me, I'm always thinking, like, what's next? So I'm thinking, okay, here, we're getting this pick and roll here. Eventually, someone's going to come help. So, who's the guy that's going to come help? So who's going to be the next option? So that's kind of how, I was thinking throughout that game, especially with us being able to establish the pick and roll early. Was thinking, okay, how are they gonna adjust and make sure that I'm ready to handle that adjustment as well. So, like I said, the game was kind of up and down, and pretty much you could have threw it to anybody, and they was gonna make a shot. So at that point, it was just kind of hitting the open man, and most of the time he was gonna make the shot.
It was just an exciting time in the NBA, and the players that that we were able to watch. It was one of my more enjoyable NBA stretches.
Mm-hmm. It's good times, tough for point guards. I tell you that. I mean, there's a lot of great point guards, and it was just every night. There was no day off for you, so it was you had to. So it was. I enjoyed the competition, and being able to compete against the best was fun for me.
That leads me to, so I coach high school basketball, and during the lockdown, I've had a lot of high school students and even some guys that are kind of at that next level hit me up for some programs or just some motivation or trying to help get them going with the training during this time. And when I was looking through your career, I think the thing that's most impressive to me is the fact that you are a point guard because of how competitive that is and the players that you were playing against. And my question, what I wanted to ask you about was, you came out of high school elite, and you obviously went into Duke, which is arguably the greatest college program. What's the difference maker now that you can? I'm not sure if it's something that you want to able to talk about, but what's that difference maker? What's that thing that you were able to figure out in high school about how to sort of I'm really making a meal of this question. I have to do some heavy editing on this one. But how were you able to become elite? Like, what did you figure out early? Is it purely a work ethic thing? Is it training smarter? How were you able to figure out, a pathway to get to the level that you were at? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, I grew up in Louisiana. So in Louisiana is a football state. Is New Orleans Saints football, LSU Tiger football, and anything else after that doesn't really matter. So,
right.
So growing up, it was kind of, I grew up playing football. I love football, still love football to this day. Actually was kind of my sport kind of before I broke my collarbone. In my 8th grade year, I broke my collarbone, and I was like, yeah, I'm too skinny for football, so I'm going to stick with this basketball thing. So for me, I did all, which is kind of different now because now it's more about AAU basketball.
Right.
The guys are not really being taught the game as far as as an IQ level, really learning how to dribble, really learning how to set your man up, learning motion offense, learning where to be defensively, those type of things. So I went to a lot of basketball camps. I went to the LSU basketball camp, Tulane basketball camp, UNO. So any college basketball camp that I could go to, I went, and also went to 5-star. I don't know if you're familiar with 5-star basketball camp. But it was kind of like the big thing before kind of AAU basketball and these shoe companies took over. So I would go there, and, they will always have these guest speakers, and, I really, paid attention, and, whatever, I learned for that week, I would go home and I would work on that. I'll practice that and, and try to get better. And then, I was very, very fortunate to have a really, really good high school basketball coach who, taught me all the fundamentals of the game, taught me, how to work hard, helped me with my shot, helped me see the game in different ways, helped me understand defenses and different types of defenses. And so I really got a lot of my basketball IQ from him. And just each year I just kind of continue to grow, continue to try to add a different aspect of my game. Again, for us, it was always constantly playing. I always went to the park and played in the park, and I always tried to play against guys that were older, bigger, stronger, to where it would help me have to figure out ways to be able to compete and and be able to hold my own against bigger and stronger, faster guys. I felt if I was able to do that, whenever I'll get to guys my age, then it'll be a little bit easier. So that was kind of my mindset. Like I've always tried to pick up from everything. Even though I played the point guard position, I knew how important it was for me to know every position out there on the court, because you're kind of the quarterback in the sense, the general out there. So I would do post moves. I would do jump hooks with the bigs and things like that, and go in the post, kind of get a feel for what they're going through, which helps me with, post entries. So I know how a guy's kind of battling and things like that. I know not to throw it to him if the guy's pushing him in his back. He's not going to be in a position where he's going to be able to score. So just all those little things I kind of learned in high school, and then going into my junior year that summer, I joined an Adidas AAU team with a guy named Jonathan Bender. He was from Mississippi, went straight out of high school. We were on the same team. Mo Williams and I were on the same team.
Wow.
And then went to ABCD camp, and that's kind of where my name kind of got out. I played well that summer, and that's kind of when college coaches started to go, because my goal was to go to LSU. That was the biggest college in the state of Louisiana. Like I said, I'm in a football state, so before I got into that Adidas basketball AAU team, even the AAU teams I would play on, we were just local. We just played all in Louisiana. We'd probably play one tournament maybe in Texas, and then probably nationals would be like in Florida, something like that. So I wasn't really getting recognition worldwide until after that summer. But it was just a lot of work, a lot of playing. I think, kids don't like to play pickup no more. But I mean, I was playing every day, playing every day. Like I said, there's an older group. So, go to the project park, and we knew everybody got off at 5. So they'll be at the park probably about 5:36. And then, we'll play till the street lights come on. And then, that was after practicing during the day, with the high school team. You leave there, go play, and then, just continue to play, get better. And again, you can always learn. You can learn from people that are 38 and still think that they're Michael Jordan, but, still find a way to score and do things like that. And, just always trying to absorb as much knowledge about the game as possible.
Nice. I've got a player that I'm coaching at the moment that I love to death. Including this year, he's got 4 years left of high school ball, and he's a point guard, and he is so hungry for information. And he'll message me every day asking to send him more footage of either a player to study or something to read. And, he can just see it. He's only so young, but you can just see it right away. He's got kind of what you described, that kind of can't stop, won't stop kind of attitude. And you can, sometimes you can notice that quite early in a person if they've got that hunger to just, want to play against older players, asking people questions that other kids is kind of almost too afraid to ask older people.
Yeah, I mean, I think one, just encourage him that he shouldn't be afraid to ask. If there's something that he wants to know, he should ask or research, and, continue to try to improve your game, as much as possible. Watch as many games as possible. It doesn't have to always be highlights or of just the greatest players. Just any type of type of game, to that way you're learning different types of offense and different types of motion, and seeing how, guys that are fast, how they're able to, create their own shots, or guys that are not as fast, how they're able to create their own shots, or how guys see the floor differently, things like that. So again, the more information, the more you watch and invest in the game, the better odds that you have of getting better and being successful at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your point about pickup is huge. Joe, I'm curious kind of what it's like out there, because I know for me that was a big part of it too. Like in my neighborhood, we had, several kids who were like basketball players, and we would play every single day. Even if we didn't have enough to run like fives, we would just play 21 or just whatever. And you develop so many instincts and just so many different things about the game, and you get a chance to like make mistakes, because it really doesn't matter all that much. You don't have somebody kind of looking at you while you're doing it. And then my dad would take me to this park, and I would play against like grown men when I was like 14 or something like that. And I was pretty tall at that point. I was probably about 6'4", I guess. I grew, kind of early, but it was good to like kind of get to number one, play on an outdoor rim. You really have to be able to shoot the ball when you're outdoors.
Yeah.
But also
Double rims.
that are stronger. Yeah, those double rims, and it was like a concrete support, so like it goes straight in every single time. But playing against people who, like Chris said, maybe might not be as quick, but they know the game, and they're much stronger than you, so they know how to how to kind of get an advantage. And so all that stuff is huge. But how is it like in New Zealand? Like, are kids able to find pickup games, or do they have to go to like a more organized setting to get basketball?
It's a great question. I actually think it is a lot harder for them to play older kids or adults. So it's kind of more like, if a kid rocks up to a hoop, if he hasn't brought his own friends or people with him, he'll probably just not stay there. He'll probably just, so that kind of being able to just turn up and play whoever, that's not as common here. So, sort of sitting on the side of the court waiting for the next game, that kind of thing doesn't happen too often. It might be different in the North Island, up in Auckland especially, but here, at least from what I've seen in my time, that you don't really see that happening. You kind of have to, if you want to play against older competition, you almost need to enter them in that grade, or have them playing in, organised basketball to get that competition.
Gotcha. I know Chris can attest to this too. There's some days when the court's really crowded, and if you lose, you might not get on. You know what I'm saying? 2, 3, 4 more games. So like, so like the games are so competitive, because like, winning and losing really, really matters, because your day is almost over if you don't win.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So that
I apologize. What part of New Zealand are you from? Sorry.
So I'm in Christchurch.
Okay. Because one of my former Nick Horvat played with me. I actually went to visit him. I think it had to be, now it's like 7 years ago. And we went to a rugby game, and it was fun.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah, he dominated our National League for a wee while. Yeah. Yeah, I actually forgot that he played at Duke until I was researching and going through the roster. And as soon as I saw his name, I was like, just sort of connected the dots. But he was a problem in our National League for a while. So
yeah, he was really, really highly touted coming out of high school. At Duke, there's so many guys coming in. So if you don't kind of establish yourself within the first 2 years, and then he got hurt as well too. He got injured, so he had to sit out a year. But then, our senior year, we graduated the same year. I mean, he was a skinny kid, and then gained like 40 pounds in the summer, which is like jacked, like looking like the Incredible Hulk. But I mean, he was always skilled, could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Crazy footwork, in the post area. He's one of my good friends. That's how I'm sorry I was texting. I was trying to see where exactly he lives, because I think he's a teacher now out there at one of the colleges.
I think I remember him being based up north. So we're in the sort of bottom part of the country, and I'm pretty confident he was North Island, up the top there a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Those man, looking at those Duke rosters, it's just incredible. Like, just unbelievable the lineups that you had, and coming straight into not only an elite college program, but national championship group. Talk about a jump from high school to that level, and in a year. It's a huge jump. What was the most challenging aspect of joining that group?
Oh, I mean, the most challenging thing is that, it, just for me at the beginning is time management, because now with school and things like that and practice. I mean, we were weightlifting and conditioning at 6 a.m. and,
Yeah,
by the time you're done with that, then you had your first class at like 9, and like, being able to adjust to college life was was a tough part of uh, going into that situation. And then, just the expectations. I
yeah,
mean, the expectations coming in, I think we were uh, preseason number one going into that year.
mm-hmm.
And, we, just by playing pickup and workouts through the summer and, even that time before practice officially started, you could just kind of feel and sense that we had something special. So now at that point, it was just kind of being able to, not get too far ahead of ourselves, be able to peak at the right time, uh, while, continue to win and, and maintain that kind of that Duke brand, because, we play anybody, that's kind of their national championship game. So, you
Yes,
know, that's when guys all of a sudden make shots that they normally don't make, and
mm-hmm.
they're playing with no pressure. So if they throw one up and it goes in, it's good. If they miss, they're supposed to lose anyway. So, that's one of the toughest things that I had to learn, was that you have to be on all the time. There were no off days, from a mental standpoint as well as a physical standpoint.
Yeah,
And I think that helps prepare you for the next level as well.
mm-hmm.
Just knowing that you're getting everybody's best shot, so you have yourself day in and day out to be ready to compete and play at a high level. Each time you're out there on the floor.
Yeah,
I feel like as you were talking before, you mentioned about kind of getting everybody's best shot. That was kind of one of the first things that came into my head. Because I told you, and Joe told you as well, I grew up 2.5 miles from Duke's campus, 5 miles from campus. So I grew up right in the middle of that. So I know kind of, what it's like. And like you said, you really couldn't take a night off at all. Like you guys were probably one of the most respected, but also one of the most hated. And everybody wanted to beat you. Like if they were going to have any kind of special promotion at whatever road game, it was going to be for the Duke game, or whatever else. Do you feel like in a way though, that kind of made you guys better because it was kind of a us against the world mentality when you practice and things like that? Do you feel like kind of the feeling that you were going to get everybody's best shot made you guys that much tighter as a unit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, in talking with like we kind of enjoyed more playing on the road. That was kind of the chip on the shoulder that we like to play and kind of use it. We kind of flipped it around. We know we're getting everybody's best shot, but our mindset that, we were still the hunter. We're not the guys being hunted. We know we're still the hunter. And, it's dangerous when people think that they're hunting you and you're actually hunting them.
Right.
So that was our mindset. So we really enjoyed, because we know everywhere we were going to go, it was going to probably be the most people that they had, in the arena for the college year. And, we wanted to make sure everybody left going home disappointed. That was kind of our mindset. Hey, thank you for coming out and seeing us, but you're not going to get any special celebrations tonight. So, it was fun. It was fun playing in those type of environments. It was fun, playing in front of crowds that hate you and are booing you at the same time. But, to be able to still perform at a high level each and every time. And then also be able to see, guys' faces knowing that they're trying their best and there's nothing that they can do. So that's a little extra, Yeah, you're giving us your all, and you're still not good enough.
Yeah, for sure. You may feel the same way, but I definitely liked road games more. Like, I mean, you guys have one of the best home environments ever, right? Which is cool. But to me, there's nothing better, like you said, to have fans that are just talking crazy. You know, the first 10 minutes of the game, and it's just loud and it's whatever against you. But at some point, it gets quiet, and you hear the ones when your shots start going in and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's more like it. You know what I mean? So I loved silencing a crowd even more than hearing my own crowd cheer. So I bet that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think also with that is, I think it's easier to kind of focus. There's less distractions, in the road game. You don't have to worry about people calling last minute for tickets and, these type of things, to where it's just you're focused on basketball. You're in a hotel, you're waiting to, get on the bus. You go over your scouting report, game plan, kind of get your own routine. The only ones that really are there for you are those guys that are in the locker room. So, you don't have to go out and make sure that you see mom or cousin or whoever came to the game. You're like, oh, thanks for coming to the game. It was just more of a laser type focus that you had during those times. And then again, like you said, it was fun, quiet in the crowd, again, just making sure that they knew that, they weren't going to get a win that night.
Yeah. Talk about under a microscope. One of the games I was watching, just enjoying going back through some of the Duke games. I think that I can't even remember what game it was now because I watched a few of them. But I think the other team started off 7-2, and all of a sudden everybody there was chanting overrated. And then I think it took about 3 or 4 minutes until you guys got up, and then everyone sort of quietened down. But just any opportunity they got to try and feel like they had a W over you guys looked pretty intense.
Yeah. I mean, that was the Maryland game when we played. We came back from down 10 with under a minute left.
Oh, Steve Blake from Dixon.
There was a hell of a basketball team. That was a hell of a squad that they had there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like you said. I mean, we're coming out of a timeout, and like the whole stadium's like overrated. And I was a freshman then, so I'm kind of in the same way, thinking, man, we about to lose. Like, this is suck. I don't want to hear it. Like, I hate their fans anyway.
Mm.
And then, literally walking out of a timeout, there's like 2 guys that stood up, and they're like, not yet. And Jay Williams, I was a teammate at the time. I mean, he was having a horrible game until that point, and he just winked at me. And I'm looking at the time. I'm like, man, what you winking at me for? Like, you getting ass whooped, you playing terrible. Like, we about to lose. But like, and then he just goes off, and next thing you know, we go to overtime, and we end up winning that game. So it was, but their crowd was so bad, they started throwing batteries and stuff at our families that were in the family section and stuff like so. Families had to get escorted out. But I mean, that's just how bad they wanted to beat us, and for us to walk out of there with the win in that type of circumstance was pretty amazing.
Jeez. Yeah, once you start throwing anything at anybody, that's when it's gone. There's a major line right there.
Yeah, it goes a little bit too far there.
Yeah, way too far.
Mm. I personally had a whole bunch of questions that are getting prepared for this, but I had some questions from some of my students. Okay. They hit me up and asked if I could annoy you with some of their questions. So some of them I kind of laughed at because I would love to know as well. Things that you'd love to ask an NBA player, but as you become an adult, you kind of go, I don't know if I can ask that. So I can use them as an excuse to ask you some questions. But you can just sub out any question, no problem. And like I say to everybody, I'll send you a copy of this before it goes anywhere. So if there's anything you don't like, I can cut it out. So I don't know if I can ask you this, but do you have a favorite teammate from the NBA days?
Ooh, favorite. Man, I don't have a fair. I was very fortunate. I had a lot of great teammates. In Chicago, my favorite was Kirk Heinrich. Kirk was my guy. Um, and then later on, Ben Wallace came to our team. Like I want to say my fourth year in Chicago. He amazing dude. I mean, we competed against him there. Obviously, that was in Detroit, and we were in the same division, so we had to compete with them a lot. But great dude. When I got to New York, Quentin Richardson, Al Harrington. I mean, that whole team was fun to be around. Nate Robinson, all those guys, man. I mean, we had a blast. Jared Jeffries, all those guys. We just had a blast. And Zach Randolph was there earlier. Zach and Jamal, before they got traded, I want to say like 17 games in the first year. But I knew Zach from we were both McDonald's All-Americans together, me and Zach Randolph. So, I mean, he's the coolest dude ever. Orlando, that was like another group that was really close-knit. Like, everywhere we go on the road, we would always go out to eat together. Dwight, Jameer, Vince, Richard, Turkaloo, all those guys. Like, we always hung out. And in LA, in a sense, was kind of almost similar because a few of us got traded from Orlando there. Then, Steve Blake and I, got over our hate relationship and actually began to become pretty good friends. So I don't have a favorite, but each spot, I was fortunate to have a lot of really good teammates.
Nice. It's incredible that you got to play in so many of those big markets,
I'm very fortunate.
Chicago Bulls in itself, obviously, I've got to ask you about that MJ documentary as well and your thoughts on that. But, I mean, just playing for the Chicago Bulls and, and especially in that time sort of, and then the Knicks with that roster and the Lakers. And, I mean, it's just insane that you got to play in all three. And the years that you were there too is fascinating to me. Like, the Lakers, that year that you happened to be there, I mean, it was all eyes on the Lakers that year. That was a fascinating roster with, Steve Nash and Dwight and Paul Gasol and of course Kobe. So it's and just looking through the people that you've got to play with was just mind blowing. Your accomplishments are unbelievable what you've racked up, but then the rosters that you got to play with. I froze for a second. Yeah, so that Lakers roster, there was a lot of questions here, but am I able to ask you about that season with LA?
Yeah, you ask me anything. That season was actually that should be a documentary. That season. Yeah. I mean, that was a drama-filled season. Steve was hurt pretty much most of that year. That was kind of his last year, pretty much playing. He was injured the whole time. We started off with Mike Brown as the head coach. Yeah. And Mike Brown, I think he's an assistant now with the Warriors. I mean, defensive-minded coach, and his practices are like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, like long practices. Like you don't do that, especially not with a veteran team. Like that was kind of a no-no. And then we were trying to run the Princeton offense, which for Kobe, it doesn't matter what offense you have. He's whenever time he wants the ball, he's gonna get the ball wherever he wants, and he'll just stop the play there. Trying to work, Powell and Dwight together, although Powell is a great passer as a big and can also stretch the floor as well. Them two trying to mesh together didn't quite work as well. And then again, we're running the Princeton offense when you have a guy like Steve Nash who's had a lot of his success having the ball in his hands all the time. Yeah. You could see how he was kind of uncomfortable just kind of, there's times where he's just sitting there and the ball's not in his hands and he doesn't know what to do. For so long, everything went and started with him. Then you had Metta World Peace, who's just a character in his own. It was just, I think obviously, when the team was initially put together, you're thinking championship and things like that. But there were just so many other factors that caused that team not to gel. One, I think the organization, I don't know for sure, but it's kind of how I thought it went and kind of how Dwight thought it felt, that he was going to be that bridge. Like, all right, Kobe's going to be, 1 or 2 more years, and then the Lakers is your franchise. That's kind of what his mindset was going into it. And, Kobe was the complete opposite. Like, nah, like, this is mine. Like, I ain't going nowhere. Like, I don't know what they told you. So they were clashing from the get-go. And I think it's interesting because, obviously you mentioned the Jordan documentaries and Kobe's a guy that kind of, emulated and imitated Mike. So I think he also tried to do that same way as far as his leadership. And, certain guys don't react to it as well, especially if they're established. So like, for me, it didn't matter. I mean, I've been coached tough all my life, with high school coach, Coach Gay, Scott Skiles in Chicago was a tough coach. So, none of that bothered me. But, Dwight was different. Dwight was straight out of high school, 6'11", phenom, went to Orlando, was the man. Nobody really could tell him nothing. Yeah. So for another player to challenge him, that was something he wasn't used to. And, he's not challenging him in a nice way. So, that could be a little, confrontational in a way to where Kobe's looking at it and, hey, I got to show you, like, you're not a champion. I got to show you what it takes to be a champion and your work ethic. And, I got to be on you. And, everything has to be perfect and at full speed and, things like that, to where Dwight's a joker and likes to have fun and, kind of like just wants to turn it on when the game comes. Yeah. And that drove Kobe, crazy. And it just wasn't at that time. And I think Dwight mentioned it later in his interview, since he's back in LA, that he wasn't mature enough, to handle it during that time and understand what Kobe was trying to do for him at that time. But yeah, it was just a whole bunch of chaos because, one guy thought it was him. He's supposed to be the face of the Lakers. One guy who's already the face of the Lakers, like, I'm not ready to give up, face of the Lakers. And, just kind of aging guys that were getting injured and kind of on their last legs. So to where it just, we changed coaches with 5 games in the season. So went from Mike Brown to Mike D'Antoni in 5 games in the season to now to do a whole different offense, which doesn't benefit Dwight too well because, as a big, he's got to come and set pick and rolls constantly, kind of how David Lee and I did it, kind of how Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire did it. So, but Dwight wants to go and just sit in the post, and that's not how that offense is ran. And then also what it did with Pau Gasol, who could also score on the block, it made him just kind of settle being an outside perimeter shooter. Yeah. So he was shooting way more threes than he normally would shoot. And, because he was just picking and popping, one, he can't roll because Dwight's down there. Like, if Dwight rolls and replays, nobody's following Dwight to the three-point line. So he became more of a perimeter player, which took away from his ability to pass, score on the block, rebound, those type of things. So it was just a whole bunch of things that kind of didn't mesh. I think that team might have needed one more year to kind of find their identity. But, by that time, like I said, Steve Nash was super, super hurt. Dwight was still also coming off of his back injury as well. So he wasn't 100% as well. So it was just a lot of dysfunction. Although it looked good on paper, it was just a lot of dysfunction behind the scenes.
I remember they started. Sorry, you go, Joey.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say, I think I don't think the general public understands how important team dynamics are, and like just people meshing and accepting their roles. Like you said, the talent on paper doesn't always translate to success, and one of the things that I've heard about, I guess good teams is when each player wants to be a superstar within their role, and like you said, Dwight wasn't happy with his role. Because honestly, if he, in my opinion, if he would have just accepted it, then the team probably could have made that leap. But you also have to understand that everybody, has their own personal goals, and it's a lot of things at play. And even at the high school level, Joe, it's so important for players just to accept their role, or for a coach to be able to get players to buy in. We can talk about Coach K and Duke stuff later, and kind of how he was able to do that. But just hearing that is very interesting. Like I said, one of the more on paper talented rosters just wasn't able to figure it out.
Yeah, no, it's very important. And you see like the good teams that are able to do it. Golden State for years. Clay is a guy that can easily go on, any other roster in the NBA and be a superstar, but, plays his role to the T and, does it at a high level, and, you get a whole bunch of success. And you can mention that about a lot of guys throughout the league. It's just kind of, a lot of it is you got to have, if winning is important to you, that's what it comes down to. How important is winning, or how important is my brand and me getting all the credit for it? And that's what guys have to balance and understand that, hey, the more we win, the more my brand grows as well.
Right.
Like, people forget to think that, oh, we're winning, but I'm not hitting the last shot. No, you're winning, but that means you're getting championships, more people see you, you're playing against higher competition, you're still more on television, things like that. So your brand is going to continue to grow, especially if you play the right way. But that's what it comes down to, how much winning is important to you, and understanding everybody's strengths and weaknesses on the team. You got to understand what guys can do well and can't do well, where on the court they can do well. What they struggle with. If there's something they struggle with, then that could be if that's something my strength, then I can really focus on that point, because I can help him in that area, or help us in that area as a team. So the best teams are very, very unselfish. Like you were saying, everybody has to be an all-star at their role, and if you're able to accept that and be an all-star at your role, you're going to have a lot of great team success.
Are you able to, watching back to the MJ documentary that we mentioned, from your time with the LA Lakers and Kobe, what stands out to you? Like, are there a lot of comparisons and things that you kind of recognize through that documentary that you connect with Kobe? Like you mentioned, his training style, or the way that he would be with other players?
Yeah, Kobe, again, he wanted always, and he said it, he wanted to be like Mike. He studied Mike. He tried to do everything like Mike. I think he might have, I think he might have isolated himself a little bit more than what Mike did. I think with the documentaries, you kind of see Mike, did stuff on the plane with the guys and hung out a little bit, and, things like that. It wasn't just always, whatever, however they're trying to portray his leadership on the court, to where, Kobe didn't really do that. Like, he was laser focused on, we got to win, this and that. At times, every now and then, usually start a training camp, he takes the rookies out to dinner and, things like that, and they hang out, on a long East Coast road trip. One of the nights he'll go out to dinner with us and things like that. But, he was more about taking care of his body, making sure that, he was uh, able to play at the highest level every single time. I mean, his work ethic is crazy. And, everybody in that organization was on pins and needles because, with the trainers, he'll wake up at 3:00 in the morning. And if his walking to the bathroom, if his ankle pops too many times, he'll call and, get a massage or get it iced or, something like that. So he was a guy that really, took care of his body, listened to his body, uh, worked on his game like no other. You know, he thought the game at a high level. Like, I mean, it was just incredible what he saw and how he was able to predict what teams would do. One of the things I tell, people ask a lot about Kobe, knowing I played with the Lakers, they want to hear Kobe stories. Well, at every halftime, he gets the film of all his shots at halftime. And, at halftime, he's studying. He's reading where the double team's coming from, if they're double teaming him or how the guys guard them and things like that. So he's always just trying to get one more step ahead and plan and predict what guys are going to do. And, okay, hey, this guy's doing this guy's going to be open, or this guy. So, when it's game time, he is just so immersed into the game. And, that's a talent that a lot of guys, don't possess, to be that obsessed about the game of basketball is a rare talent. And for him to have the the physical ability to do it as well, that's what become, one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Just a level of detail.
Yeah. I mean, every single detail. I mean, it's footwork, every little thing. If you're 2 inches off the spot he wants you at, like, you got to be – those 2 inches, like, matters. Like, every inch matters, to him. And, that's just kind of how he prepared and played and attacked the game.
Chris, can I ask you your thoughts on the MJ documentary?
Yeah, a lot of it I kind of already knew, just from, again, I played in Chicago, so I worked out with Tim Grover. He was my trainer for a couple of years. I knew Tim Grover, trainer, and then all the guys that were kind of the Bulls front office people talking. John Paxson was my GM, so I've heard stories from John Paxson. Bill Wellington does the either radio or TV. He did it when I played there, so I kind of knew kind of all those stories. The only thing that was, I guess, I didn't know to the extent is just how much the front office and the team were just so on different pages. You kind of heard it and you read a little bit in the media, but for them to see how Scotty and Mike were just like talking crazy to Jerry Krause and then Reinsdorf is just, which we kind of knew, Reinsdorf doesn't really care about the Bulls franchise anyway. He's a baseball guy. So, that's the whole reason Jerry Krause got the job anyway, because he's like, he's from baseball. Yeah. Go ahead. If you do something, great. If not, I'm just trying to win World Series. I'm not really trying to win NBA championships. So, but I mean, other than that, I mean, I grew up watching Mike. In Louisiana, we didn't have a pro basketball team, but there's two stations that, Chicago has a station that kind of goes worldwide, which is WGN. Mm-hmm. So you can watch all the Bears games, all the Bulls games, White Sox, and all the Cubs games. So, that was the only, and back then basketball wasn't on as consistently as it was now. I think only Sunday was the day where you'll have like a big matchup game on Sundays. Sunday, I think it was NBC. NBC had the big games on Sundays. And so other than that, only games I can catch were Bulls games. So, right. I was, them and Hawks. We had TBS as well. So them and the Hawks. So those are the two teams that, I was able to watch and follow the most. So I kind of knew much about his career. Obviously, everybody wanted to be like Mike, and so I really, really follow him closely. So I would say that was kind of the only thing that I didn't know was to that level. But kind of most of the other things, uh, I kind of already knew because I mean he came out. What was it? I'm thinking of R. Kelly song. But what was he had like a tape that came out, I think right after the Dream Team. He came out with
Him with the Come Fly
what
With
was
Me?
Come Fly With Me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
I'm saying I
Yeah.
believe I could.
I believe I can fly.
But Come Fly With Me was kind of similar, kind of a documentary about that. So he kind of hit on those same points kind of again. So, but I mean, I think it was great. I mean, I wish it was longer. I wish I think they could dig a little bit deeper. I still think it's deep, but it's not as deep as you could go.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Man, I got caught in my feelings at the end where MJ was talking about that speech about, he just wants to win, and if you don't want to be there with him, that when you hear MJ get choked up, it's like,
Well, I mean, the whole point and the thing is him and why you respect and why I respect Kobe as much is that none of those guys, everyone's saying he's bully, but none of those guys can challenge him because none of them are working as hard as he is.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a guy that's the best player in your team and he is working the hardest, he's getting up 6 a.m. and he's lifting and he's winning every wind sprint. And he's, getting shots before and after and coming back in late. And you're not like, what can I say? There's nothing I can say to this guy that's, well, what were you doing at 3 o'clock? I'm like, I was taking a nap. I was tired from practice. Like, well, I was in the gym. Like what can you say to a guy that's so invested in the game?
Yeah.
And my takeaway of it, obviously you can lead different ways. Like there's not just one way that you can lead. Just kind of depending on your personality and your style. Whatever works for you. But my thing and what I took out of it, and I think what a lot of people are missing is that there's a pride factor in it. When you have pride for something that you have and you care about something, and he cared about winning championships and being the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
So you're going to fight for that. You're not going to just say, hey, man, I hope you could come and play a little bit harder today. It would really – no, you'd be like, nah, get your ass up. Like, you need to get on my level because this is what I want. And I think people are missing that fact, and they're trying to make it seem like, oh, he's being a bully and this type of thing. No, it's like, hey, you go out and buy these new Air Jordans and someone steps on them, you're going to want to fight. You're going to want to fight somebody. And that's how he approached basketball. And that's how he approaches. Like, hey, I want to win a championship and I want to be the best player ever. Like, if you're getting in my way, like, we're going to have to fight. Like, I need you to come and help me achieve those things, not bring me down. And, that's kind of how I took it, with, his approach to it. And again, he justifies it by how hard he works.
Yeah, that's what I love about MJ. That's my favorite thing to watch. It's ultimate, competitive nature. Like like you said, it's one thing if he wasn't winning all those championships and he was a certain way, that's one thing. But I mean, the numbers in itself and the way he played was just, yeah, I think it's crazy getting any criticism, But I loved it. I love watching that stuff. And it's like some people have said, because we didn't have social media back then, to hear them talking candidly, it's just awesome. And, and seeing what they were like, it's a cool insight.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Chris, I'll hit you with I've got a few pages from these students, but I've already taken up an hour of your time. I'll hit you with this one as well. I'm not sure how you're going for time. How much time do you have? Sorry?
We're good on time.
Okay, cool. Thank you. This one here I quite liked as well. I had one of the students asked, from what you know now, what do you wish most that you had known as a rookie? What piece of information or advice?
I mean, just kind of like just the whole preparation of being a pro. You know, uh, you know, a lot of people understand one how tough it is to get in the league,
Yeah.
but how tough it is to stay in the league. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people like once you're there, it's still not just guaranteed, but to be able to stay and have a long career is just as tough because every year there's a draft. You know, somebody new is coming in. There's free agency. There's trades. Like, so you know, there's a lot of uncertainties, and for you to be able to be a professional every day, and you know, again, this is, you know, even though it's for some people it's a hobby or something, you know, it's your job. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's your job, and you got to treat it as a job, and you got to treat it as I got to be the best at my job, or if I'm not, somebody else is going to take it. And you know, I think for me, it took me a while to develop that mentality because, you know, you coming from college, you know, it's different because everyone's kind of on the same page. You kind of, you know, kind of fight for roles, and that's pretty much it. But, you know, until you're a senior, you know, you're coming back the next year, basically.
Yeah.
To where in the NBA, I mean, 1 month you could be starting, and the next month you won't be playing any minutes, and you know that's just kind of how it works. So you have, if I'd have known that going in and had that mindset going in, I think that'll help me out tremendously.
Cool. So at what stage did you start thinking coaching? Was it something that you, back when you were in college or when, you know, your first few years in the NBA, was it something in the back of your mind that you thought that you might do following your playing career, or is it something that you started thinking about later on?
I started thinking about it probably when I was in Orlando. NBA Players Association, they do a great job. You know, every year they come out with where you have opportunities to do internships, or you
Right.
know, if guys want to go to school or whatever your interests are, you know, they can help you and try to lead you in that direction. And they have a coaches uh, program that they do every summer. They have the NBA Top 100 camp every year, and they use that as a platform to guys that may think about wanting to be coaches, you know, that could be a current player or former player. And then they will have former NBA coaches kind of help teach you of, you know, how you got to manage a team and how to the different softwares and, you know, things you need to look for and how to uh, give a scouting report and how to give a pregame speech. And then at the same time, you get your team of talented high school players, so the talent level is there to where now you get the opportunity to coach them and try to lead them and be in game situations and things like that. And I did that 1 year, and I liked it and I loved it. And I just knew that once my career was over, that was something that I wanted to kind of follow.
From a coaching standpoint, you know, you talked about as a player, you know, you play against one guy, you kind of pick up one thing. You play against another guy, you pick up a different thing. So you had a bunch of different coaches that you got a chance to play under. How much of those experiences do you feel like you put into your own coaching, you know, or do you feel like you kind of have your own style?
No, I mean, I definitely take a lot, you know, from everyone. You know, the thing is you want to kind of do it your way because you want to be authentic. You know, kids can sniff out when it's not real or it's fake or it's being copycatted. You know, for me, and it's kind of like also being a player, like you got to continue to learn. You know, I'm still learning, you know, how to coach. You know, one of the difficulties of coaching, especially for former players, is that we expect guys to work a certain way or think the game a certain way, and we have to be more flexible and have the ability to adapt and, you know, and groom kids. And, you know, sometimes that could be tougher Or with me, I'm kind of, still consider myself young.
Mm.
I got to separate that player from coach, because I'm still young enough to where I can go out and compete and bust their ass. But, I got to be able to separate that. Hey, my job is to get them better
Mm.
and coach them, not compete with them and be a teammate. And, those are just some of the things you got to learn, with that. But, obviously with, Coach K, a lot of the stuff defensively we did is something that, I will instill, and also with, being a team, being a part of something that's bigger than you, kind of, being kind of the mantra for your team, and just like, hey man, like, this thing is bigger than you. Whatever university we're at, there are going to be more people that's going to come after you. There are people there before you, and there are going to be people that come after you. So to kind of think of that, with Mike D'Antoni, I mean, just his offensive. I mean, he's an offensive genius, and a lot of the stuff and the way he saw the game, and he helped revolution change the game now that's in the NBA. Those are the type of techniques and fundamentals that I would like to bring as well. Scott Skiles was also another great defensive coach, tough-minded. I like a lot of the things, when I was in Chicago, I mean, they were having really terrible, terrible years. And my rookie year, I think they drafted, we had 6 rookies. And it was bad the year before. And, one thing I loved about him, he was like, we're going to be a great defensive team. And he held everyone accountable. So, when we'll go out and play, especially like I would say like the first 30 games of the season, on our pick and roll coverages on the side, we'll down it or ice it, so that's pretty much the ball's on the side of the court. If the big calls ice, if a ball screen's coming, I'll jump up to send the guy towards the baseline. I won't let him come to the middle.
Right.
The big will just drop down towards the block, so where I'm just sending them towards him. And, that's kind of how we wanted to play side pick and rolls. Well, like I said, if he was trying to install an identity, if that guy would get over the top, you subbed out. Like, no matter what, subbed out. Then, if this happened again, go get him. So it was kind of like a revolving door. And it was a joke. I mean, like I said, I'll be sitting there on the bench, and I'll see Kirk guarding the guy. He'd get over the top. Like, he didn't even have to point at me. I was already walking towards the scorer's table. Kirk already was walking towards the bench. But then after a while, once that became like our identity, then obviously, he loosened up the reins, and then it was more about building the rotation. But I thought that was a great way to have guys really buy in, to help you buy into what your identity is going to be, to where you're holding everyone accountable. And hey, especially early on in the year, a lot of teams are not going to be like Duke and Kentucky and, guys that are pretty much going to get automatic bids. If you're in a smaller conference or a mid-major, either you're going to have to win your conference tournament. Basically, you're probably going to have to win your conference tournament. So you have kind of a lot of games so your overall record really is not going to be matter, because you want to really be playing the best basketball once you get into conference, and then, for the conference tournament. So you have that time to kind of, use that as a way to, hey, like, if you want to play, you got to do like, this is a note, like, this can't happen, or this is a must. And I like his style of doing that as well. So, just going around and learning from different coaches and just taking things here and there. And again, it has to fit your personality, but I feel like I'm still growing as a coach, and I'm just enjoying the process with it, all the good and the bad with it.
Excellent. I think you've got such a huge advantage, like your point of view. You've been involved in so many high level, basketball programs, or obviously NBA teams. So I think that's it's exciting to know that you're able to pass on what to that next group coming through. That they've got a pretty massive advantage having you and being able to pick your brain for information.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to obviously Duke, your time at Duke. you achieved like incredible things, you know, all-time leader in multiple things, win a national championship. I'm curious about now, or like following Duke and you going to the NBA, you're still connected with Duke. You guys still, obviously you got some probably lifetime friendships that come out of that group, but as Duke as a program, are there annual things that you guys get together and do, or do you still have group chats going on? Like, is there any connection there with Duke?
Yeah, I mean, every year Coach K does this basketball fantasy camp.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically you have to be 35 and older. You have to pay like 10 or 15 grand to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically you come in and you get the Duke experience. So you come in as a player. It's like you're back in college, things like that. And then us as former players, we come back and we're the coaches.
Right.
So for us, it gives us an opportunity to network because a lot of these guys are business owners and, you know, these type of things, CEOs and these type of things. And then for us, it gives us a chance to, you know, be reunite to get back together with, you know, former teammates, players from before us, players that are there now, players that are after us. So, you know, they're talking about the brotherhood, and that was kind of his envision of the brotherhood thing type that, to be able to have one time where everyone kind of comes back and is real relaxed and chill, and everyone gets to hang out and have a good time, and we get to reminisce about the past and things like that. So, you know, we've done that. And just recently, because it's going to be the 20-year anniversary of our national championship this couple. So we've all got on the Zoom call together. I want to say probably about a month ago. So, I mean, it was good to see Nick, you know, Shane, you know, although most of these guys that we already talked to, but, you know, guys like Casey Sanders and a few of the walk-ons and, you know, guys that we kind of, you know, maybe not have done a greatest job of staying in touch. It was great to be able to catch up and you know, and see how everyone is doing. So we're planning on meeting somewhere next year. I think everyone's set on Miami, but you know, we're kind of in a tough pickle because Coach's first national championship is Christian Laettner and them the same year, so they're gonna be on 30, and we gonna be on 20. So, you know, we're kind of like we don't get as much love as the first national championship. So we're gonna celebrate our own way.
I mean, it's awesome to hear. I got to hit you with this one. This is just a Joe question. This isn't even from my student. I could pretend it's from my students to get away with it, but I got to ask you this, and you can give me the political answer if you want to. But going through the names, I looked through the all-time records at Duke, and you're the all-time steals leader. And I'm looking through this list, and I'm seeing Shane Battier, Laettner, Williams, Hill, Hurley. Do you low-key just hope that no one touches that record like for the rest of your days so you can sit on top of that list? How would you feel if somebody came through and took that spot?
Yeah, I mean, records are meant to be broken. You know, I was, you know, if it happens, it happens. But I just feel how guys are leaving early anyway now.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be able to stay for a long time. So
yeah.
So I think I might be safe.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, the guys, I mean, it's one and gone two at the most now, like the ones that would have a chance to break it. So you might be in the books forever, man. you might be immortalized.
I'll take by default. I'll take it.
It's just so fun going through like just an unbelievable career and just the numbers. You know, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to stats, box scores. I'm all about that, you know. So just looking at the names that, you know, that are on that list, it's just unbelievable. You know, so many. That was is a powerhouse, and you know, Coach K, you know, got to be the GOAT as far as college coaches go. So.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate. I played with a lot of great players. I mean that national championship team, you got 4 guys that played in the NBA. with Boozer and myself, Jay Williams, Dunleavy, Battier, and then throughout my whole 4 years there with Dante Jones and Daniel Ewan and J.J. Redick, Sheldon Williams and Lou Aldang and Shavlik Randolph. So I've been very fortunate to play with a lot of great players.
This might be interesting to you, but what was a big deal here, I don't know why, but in New Zealand, that Duke versus North Carolina game, big deal here in New Zealand. They would have it on ESPN, and I remember getting together with 8 to 10 basketball psychos like me just following it, but that was huge here. So yeah, so they'd always have that on ESPN.
I would guess.
Sorry?
So there's probably more UNC fans, I would guess.
I don't know. I think it's pretty even. Again, it's funny hearing people go hard at one team because we're in New Zealand, so it's not like we're from that area or we're connected to those people. It's just we just pick a team and we're like, yeah, I'm Lakers to death, or I'm UNC to death. But we really, I find it funny how people here, pick one team and they act like they're all about it. So. There's a lot of bandwagon fans here. So when someone starts winning, you start seeing the snapbacks or the jerseys. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys could feel the rivalry where you were, because I grew up in it, and it's pretty crazy. I mean, even like to this day, when the two teams play, guys that are best friends are just like talking just reckless to each other for like. I mean, like saying things you would never say to somebody you care about, just because they go for one team or another. And then later, everything is all cool. But yeah, growing up in school, I mean, it was a huge deal, and whoever your team was, don't let them lose the night before, because you were going to hear it so bad at school. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, it's funny that it got to you guys as well, where it's, you guys got to feel the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it, man. I'm very fortunate and blessed. But that, like you said, you feel that for like the month. Once it's like kind of like a month before the game, you already feel that it's coming. People start talking about it, especially if both teams are like playing really, really well at that time. It's really it's fun, energetic. Everywhere you go, that's all the topic that people want to talk about. Like, are you guys gonna be Carolina this year? Or are y'all gonna lose or whatever? So you gotta deal with that for a month.
Yeah.
And then if you do lose, then you probably got to deal with it for another month at least, or until next year, basically. So you definitely didn't want to be on the losing end of that rivalry for sure.
And I'm just assuming that kind of spills into the community.
Oh yeah.
So like just local businesses having signage or like branding, or like they're showing who they support.
Yeah, so basically like the state of North Carolina, it's Durham is like all of Duke fans. Raleigh is all of NC State fans, and then everywhere else is Carolina fans. I was sprinkle Wake Forest here and there, but yeah, I mean it's that's all people talk about, and North Carolina is a basketball state, so a lot of people are invested like at all levels, from the little levels to now obviously they have NBA team as well, but basketball is like real big in North Carolina.
Yeah, I think any basketball person from New Zealand would just absolutely love to go there and get to check out those games and just experience the atmosphere and see basketball at such a high level. Sounds pretty epic. Hey, Chris, I got another question I'll annoy you with, and I had this from quite a few high school level players, and I was kind of glad that they asked this because it's something as a high school coach I'm really interested in what my students are doing with their eating. So this is a bit of a curveball, but am I able to ask you what, like on a game day, what your eating would be like?
So I mean, that also should have been one of my answers from what I would have learned when I was a rookie.
Right.
uh, I mean, it was kind of trending that way, but it still wasn't like weightlifting and nutrition. Still wasn't like the main focus, like kind of what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different you know, diets and people saying you should eat this or not eat this, or I mean, I would try to obviously to eat as healthy as possible. But you know, I think you got to go what works for you and how your body feels and reacts. You know, for me, I tried to eat like 5 small meals a day.
Right.
You know, I try not to like starve myself or anything like that.
Yeah.
So towards the end of my career, you know, I would, you know, obviously have breakfast and then, you know, have some type of shake like right after shoot around or something like that. Have, you know, have lunch, and then on a game day, kind of have more of a, you know, bigger snack, you know, because I won't be able to play for like, I mean, you know, by the time I get to the gym, you know, I'm not eating for like 5 hours, 6 hours.
Right.
Or you're probably snacking on like fruit, like, you know, teams usually have like fruit or energy bars and stuff that you can eat like that. So, I would say, again, it just kind of depends on, you know, how your body reacts. I think the most important thing is being hydrated.
Right.
You know, the more hydrated that you are, you know, the better. And I think that also helps with, you know, like your food cravings, because if you're kind of full of water, you know, or whatever you're drinking, you know, you're not quick to just kind of like, you know, binge eat or something at any point in time. So, you know, lean meats, you know, vegetables, you know, fruits, those type of things. I mean, I think the main thing with, you know, game, you know, kind of with anything, but especially with just whatever it is, have a routine, you know. So whatever it is, try to have a routine, something that you do every single time. So, you know, if you eat at 3 o'clock every time, try to eat at 3 o'clock every time, and like just kind of have a routine to where your body knows and kind of can understand like, oh, okay, this must be kind of a game day, you know. So
Cool.
That that hydration part is huge. I have a little story about that. So my senior year in college, my roommate and I, we were actually, in addition to our regular conditioning training with the cross country team, you know, just trying to make sure that we were like in great shape. And like the first couple of exhibition games, you know, probably like 25 minutes into the game, still cramping up, like to the point where I couldn't play. So I went to our strength and conditioning coach and just asked him like, hey, what's going on? Like, help me out. So he said, for a week, write down everything you eat, drink, what time, all that kind of stuff. And I brought it back to him, and he was like, dude, where's your water? And I'm like, well, I'm drinking juice. And then it was like Minute Maid or whatever else, you know, and like maybe Gatorade. And he was like, you're not drinking any water. And so from that point, because like I was just paranoid about cramping, I only drank water. And what is this? 13 years later, I'm still only drinking water.
yeah.
You know, I used to, I mean, we would get pizza, you know, every night, and I would drink soda, or, you know, go to Bojangles and I would get a sweet tea, you know, or whatever else. And I don't even want that stuff anymore, because you said the water, like your body craves water. That's what it wants, what it needs. And so the other stuff that you're putting in, like it really doesn't want it anyway. It only wants it because you've been doing it so much. So I think that's a big part. If they can just control that aspect of it and get out a lot of the sugary drinks out of their diet and everything, they'll start to want to eat better as well. They'll want to get, you know, a salad. They'll want to get the grilled chicken instead of whatever. And that's a good way to kind of ease yourself into a healthy diet.
Because all the time you see NBA players drinking out of a Gatorade cup, it's not always Gatorade they're drinking, is it?
Yeah, no, because I mean, some guys kind of have special drinks. You know, like you said, there's like some guys that maybe dehydrated that day for whatever reason. There's like these, tablets or packets that you could do put in like water and stuff that can kind of help you hydrate. So uh, it has to be Gatorade Cup because the NBA is sponsored by Gatorade, so you can't be sitting there drinking Powerade or anything else. But
Yeah.
so that's why the cups show Gatorade, but not all the time is Gatorade.
Are you a superstitious guy, Chris?
No, not really. But I do like to have kind of a routine.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of helps just keep me sane for the most part. That, kind of this is what I do. I know what I do. I don't have to worry about anything else. Like this is kind of my routine, and just kind of builds a confidence in me and just makes me feel comfortable and relaxed, and I'm not stressed out, throughout the day.
What makes it so difficult to play for the New York Knicks? Because I see that you stepped into New York and you had a fantastic season when you stepped in there. But a lot of guys go there and they find it really difficult. Again, I don't know if that's something I can ask you, but is that a thing? Is there reasons why playing in New York is more difficult than other cities?
I mean, there's a lot of factors. I think one, they just haven't really developed an identity since, Patrick Ewing and that type of team has left. So they've kind of been all over the place and chasing things. When I was there, they didn't care about the 2 years that I played at all. Like, he didn't care if we won 100 games or 12 games or 2 games. Like, his whole thing was trying to clear the salary cap so he could try to sign LeBron. That was the year LeBron ended up going to Miami.
Right.
So, so I think it's kind of been, bad ownership, because he would step in on and, veto some things that the GM was trying to do because he wanted a superstar there, to sell tickets and things like that. And, it always wasn't maybe the right piece. Like even the time where, they brought in Carmelo, that was a time Jeremy Lin kind of blew up on the scene, and they kind of had, they were rolling. Him and Raymond Felton, and I think J.R. Smith was on that team, and they kind of got into a little groove and was playing really well. They won like 20-something straight games. Actually before then, but then they traded for Carmelo, and then Melo's a great player, but in D'Antoni's system, because he's more of a ball holder, it doesn't work. It doesn't work as well. And then, guys also get out of a rhythm because they're playing a certain way and we're succeeding in a certain way. Now you have a guy that, which is deserving, he's a great player, great scorer, but, it kind of, throws you out the system. So, New York's a tough place. You have, New York's always in competition with LA. So, they, want to have as many celebrities in the front row and, things like, it's a Broadway show. That's, basically what it is. And, they're going to be tough on you, if you're not playing well, they're going to love you if you are playing well. But I think the main thing that, they've been struggling with is that they just don't have an identity. They've been through so many coaches and so many different players, and there's just, back when we were growing up during that Jordan time, like you knew what the Knicks were. Like, there was a tough team, defensive team. Like they're gonna play hard every night. Guys that just kind of do their jobs, do the dirty work, play physical. And they just haven't found an identity, since those years have been gone. And I think it's kind of one of those situations where he's worried more about getting a superstar there because, again, it's like a Broadway show and not the right superstar. And then they really didn't try because they've been having a lot of, early draft picks. They've just been not picking up guys. They've missed out on a lot of guys that they could have had and, could have been the face of their franchise. And, they haven't done a great job of doing that.
If you get bored, I don't know if you guys have seen these videos on YouTube before, but it was they ran through the draft picks the Knicks had over the last 20 years. I can't remember what it's called anymore, but Chris, I've had too much time in the lockdown to watch too much YouTube and geek out on all kinds of things. And I started with the Timberwolves and the draft pick I've had in the last 20 years but man, the New York Knicks one, it broke my heart a little bit just looking through, the potential. And it's like you said, just like, it'd be great to see them get that culture right. Like you look at Brooklyn and like, it was so enjoyable watching them play before they got, Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Like they built that culture and, the bench were all about it, and it looked like a great place to play, but they just focused on that culture. So I think as a closet New York Knicks fan for a long time, I've been like hoping to see, and every time you see another coach with the opportunity to come through, it's, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I was really hoping to see somebody like Mark Jackson come through. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but seems like,
he helped build that culture in Golden State. They were going and trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
And he just rubbed front office the wrong way, and that's when they brought in Steve Kerr. But he helped Draymond become Draymond.
Yep.
And he would be a no nonsense type guy. He knows the game. That type of thing. New York loves him. He's from there, and
exactly.
Looks like an obvious pick, but it's kind of, Dolan is at the point where he feels like they've been rebuilding, so he wants something instant, So even if Mark Jackson's there, I don't know how long of a leash he's going to give him.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, we don't need 3 or 4 years to kind of really get the guys that we want in here, and then, we can go. But they have a new GM now,
Yep.
Leon Rose, who's been a NBA agent, for years.
Yes.
So he's good at picking out talent and things like that. So hopefully again, comes down to Dolan, how much leverage and how much he stays out of it. Just kind of let Leon kind of do his job and just move with whatever happens. So
yeah, here's hoping. On a positive, Mark Jackson might not like you too much because you got that assist record in New York.
Well, he didn't have it. It was I think it's in the other room. I forgot the guy's name, but it was funny. You just so happened that he was there that night when it happened. It was
nice.
But yeah, I didn't even know it was a record until after the game. Because I was actually in my head, I was chasing 30. I was trying to catch Scott Skiles' record. That way I could call him and say, hey, I broke your record, motherfucker. I love Scott Skiles, so that was my guy. I was chasing 30.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like on the outside, it's always been interesting to know like how aware a player is when he's onto a milestone, or is it something that that's all he's thinking about and what he's trying to achieve, or if he's just hooping and he just so happens to be picking up those numbers.
Yeah, I think most people you just hooping. For me, I was just hooping. But usually like at halftime, you kind of I kind of look at the stat sheet because you can kind of get a feel for the game, and for me, it's kind of like a checkpoint of like I know who on my team is playing well and what they're showing, like if I have to get them the ball more, things like that, and also looking on the other team like who we need, so at halftime that's kind of when I would look at the sheet and things like that. So I think at that time I was like, man, I'm already in double digits. Let's kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you start forcing things, then it kind of gets you out the game, because then there's shots. The play is supposed to be for you to take the shot, but you're trying to pass, and then it kind of mucks up the game a little bit. So those type of things, you just got to kind of let those things happen for you.
So you got a wide open layup, but you kick it out to a shooter.
Yeah. You start doing stuff like that. You don't want to upset the basketball guys.
There it is. Man, it's amazing how many questions came through. I think again, it's I really appreciate you giving us some time, because just the opportunity to speak to somebody like yourself is fantastic, and it's cool for me to be able to get, as a high school coach, to get some questions from these guys who would never get an opportunity to ask, somebody like yourself, and that has achieved the things that you have, these questions, and to be able to kind of facilitate that it's huge, man. Like, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. And you have my email and stuff like that. Like, if you want to set up a Zoom call with your high school guys, and that way they can ask the questions personally. We could do that as well. I have no problem doing that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've got I'm not trying to, how when Harold Miner and these guys would come in and people would call them like a baby MJ. I don't want to nickname this kid too early, but I might have a baby Chris Duhon in my program, and he seems to have that work ethic and that hunger to learn, and it's going to be fun to coach him for the next 3 or 4 years. Will be fun. But man, I really appreciate that. That's huge, and part of me was thinking there's a chance that Chris Duhon's going to come through on this Zoom chat, and then there's a chance that I might not see him come through, and I'll respect that either way because he's Chris Duhon. Do you know what I mean? But,
because I remember for whatever reason I had it at 9. I thought it was at 9, so I had jumped on the call at 9 o'clock, and then I reread the email, and then you guys put it that it was at 10. So
yeah.
But I put you guys in the calendar, so I was prepared for it. Got the kiddos to sleep early, got them relaxed, so
yeah,
I didn't have any distractions.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I call this chat's called the night shift, and I was saying to Joey, it's because usually when people want to talk hoops, it's late at night, So for me, it's only in the daytime at the moment. So I've got the kids all set up, doing their thing. My son's playing 2K at the moment, and my daughter, I think she's doing TikTok. So
I am not joining that. I'm not going to get
news.
Leave that alone. It's addicting. I already know.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff do you? So you've been in lockdown for a wee while there.
Yeah. So right now just homeschooling the kids.
Yeah.
I'm actually in this NBA coaches program, so we have been breaking down like a lot of the G League teams and players and
Nice.
Things like that, and then learning all the software and programs that they use. So,
right.
Synergy and Sports Code and Fast Draw, Fast Scout, and just kind of perfecting all those things. And, that way, if the opportunity comes for me to coach on that level, again, with former players, there are a lot of people don't like to hire us because they just think we could be just on the court. But if I go and show that, hey, I have the skill to do the film and do all this other stuff and things like that, then there's a better chance that I'll be able to get that position. So
for sure, man.
So watching a lot of G League games.
Is there anything else you're finding yourself spending too much time watching at the moment?
You know what? No, I mean, I need to catch up. I'm a binge watcher, so I try, but I'm one of those, like, because for whatever reason, I could stay up late. So, I start at 7, and if it's good, I'll stay up till 6 a.m. and finish the whole series. I try not to do that, especially I have a 10-month-old who's on her own schedule, so I got to make sure I have enough energy for her. But I got to catch up on my Narcos Mexico. I got to do that. I got to catch up on Ozark. Just came back out, so I got to catch up on that. And then I got to catch up on Homeland. Homeland just finished. I didn't watch it the last season. And then Billions just started. It just seems like I can't catch up because like a new show that it just keeps coming up. So Billions just started. So, right now I'm going to focus on Narcos Mexico, finish that, and hopefully try to catch back up with everything else. But everything's being DVR'd, so And I try not to go on to follow the people that on Twitter, because they like to spoil. So
Spoil everything. Yeah.
really, I'm not on Twitter much. Most of mine is sports stuff, so it's pretty good. But if I see any hints, I get off and.
What's wrong with those people? Why? How do they not understand? Some of us haven't seen that yet. Like, and immediately, as soon as the episode finishes, they're on there. Like, what's wrong with these people?
I mean, people want to discuss it and they want to, dissect it and, get opinions from other people. I think, that's for the most part. Or they just want to say that they saw it and let the world know that they saw it.
Yeah. Right. Well, man, I could talk hoops with you all day, and I appreciate your time, man. Again, getting to run through what you've done today, this morning, and show my son. I think that's what I'm going to be watching for the next, I don't know how long, just going back through some of those college basketball during your playing era. Those college games were so legit and so good to watch. So I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time going through those games. And after speaking to Woody, I've been going through some of those UNCA games, Joey.
Oh, okay, you got a chance to watch them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to watch last night. I watched them play Tennessee. So
okay. Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching that. So I want to watch a whole bunch more.
Yeah. They've got a pretty good thing going, man. They've got their style set now, and they've got really the kids that kind of are catered to what they want to do.
Yeah.
So they're moving in the right direction. And they've, we talked about culture. I think they've really got a good team culture at this point. So it'll be fun to see the next couple of seasons what they can end up doing with them.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, lads, I appreciate your time.
Yeah. No problem.
Always.
Yeah. If you want to set up that Zoom call, I'm free. I'll be more than willing to do that. So, just let me know.
That's huge. I appreciate that very much. The kids will think I'm making up stories when I tell them that I can get you on that chat. They won't.
Well, hopefully I can get a haircut by then. So.
I hope you guys stay safe and keep well. And no doubt I'll keep on annoying you and getting you on. And Joey, thanks as always, sir.
Of course.
I'll probably be.
It's good to see.
All right.
Yep, you too, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Come back through whenever this thing clears up, man.
All right, I will.
All right, go ahead.
All right, thanks, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. See you, bye.